If you have a birthday or celebration coming up where you'd like to serve a healthier dessert, you have to try this healthy birthday cake. It's naturally sweetened with fruit and made without any flour or oil, but you'd never know just by tasting it. I'm also going to share a chocolate frosting recipe to help you complete this healthy cake. To get started, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and gather 2 8-inch cake pans or 3 6-inch cake pans, depending on how many layers you'd like to make. I'm going to show you how to make the frosting first because it's going to need to chill in the fridge for a few hours before it's ready to use. In keeping with our fruit-sweetened theme, this healthy frosting recipe is sweetened with dates, and it turns out perfectly creamy, just like a traditional frosting. To make it, you'll need 1 cup of coconut cream, which is the solid part you'll find in a can of coconut milk. You'll need to open 2 cans of coconut milk to get a whole cup of the coconut cream, or if you can find canned coconut cream at the store, that will sometimes have more of the good solid part inside. If you don't have a cold kitchen, be sure to place these cans in the fridge the night before you plan on making this, so the coconut cream will be solid and easy to remove from the can. My kitchen is usually cold enough that I don't have to do this, but if you live in a warm climate, keeping these in your fridge is the best bet. Once you've measured out the coconut cream, you'll need to melt it so it's in a liquid form. Add the cream to a small saucepan and heat it gently over medium-low heat just until the cream is melted. Add the melted coconut cream to a blender along with 8 ounces of pitted Medjool dates, or about 1 tightly packed cup. You'll also need a 1/4 cup of cacao powder or cocoa powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a pinch of salt. You'll need to add a little more liquid to help with blending, and I like to add about 2 tablespoons of maple syrup to help boost the sweetness, and then another 2 tablespoons of water to help it blend smoothly. Blend until the dates are totally broken down, stopping to scrape down the sides of the blender as needed. When the frosting looks totally smooth, transfer it to a storage container with a lid so you can let it chill in the fridge. It will thicken up in about 4 hours with a creamy, frosting-like consistency. This recipe makes a little over 2 cups of frosting, which is exactly what you'll need for a 2-layer 8-inch cake or a 3-layer 6-inch cake. But if you'd like to have extra frosting on hand for extra piping on top, you might want to make 1.5 times this batch so you'll have extra frosting on hand to work with. Now that the frosting is in the fridge, let's make the cake. You'll need 1 cup of tightly packed pitted Medjool dates for this recipe, which is about 8 ounces in weight. If you don't have dates on hand, you can also swap these for 3 very ripe bananas instead. In that case, your cake will be a little less sweet and it will have a hint of banana flavor. Add those to the bowl of a food processor or a blender and add in 3 large eggs and a 1/4 cup of water. Blend that together until the dates are totally broken down and the mixture looks relatively smooth. Next, you'll need 1 cup of almond butter, or you can use peanut butter. Make sure you're using an all-natural nut butter that needs to be stirred when you open it so it has a drippy consistency. Next, add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Blend everything together until it's smooth, stopping to scrape down the sides of the blender as needed. This mixture will be very thick, so if you think your blender won't be able to handle it, you can also pour that blended date mixture into a large bowl and then mix in the almond butter and other ingredients by hand. Now that the cake batter is ready, lightly spray the pans with oil and press a piece of parchment paper into the bottom of the pan so the cake will easily release later. The oil will hold the parchment paper in place so it won't wiggle around. Divide the batter between the prepared pans and then spread it out with a spatula. The cake pans won't be very full, but this cake will rise as it bakes. Place the pans in the oven and bake until the tops are lightly golden, about 25 to 30 minutes. When the cake is done baking, let it cool completely in the pan. You don't want to frost a warm cake or the frosting will melt off, So once the cake is totally cool and your frosting has thickened up, you can start decorating. Place the first layer on a serving plate and add a layer of the chocolate frosting. Then add the next cake layer and repeat the frosting process. Add the third cake layer on top of that, and now you can frost the top and the sides of the cake. If you'd like to make your cake extra fancy, you can also transfer some of the frosting into a piping bag and pipe some of the frosting around the edges of the cake. I am not an expert cake decorator, so I also like to add a few naturally dyed sprinkles on top to help make the cake look a little prettier. You could also decorate this with fresh berries if you like. As soon as the cake is frosted, it's ready to slice and serve. It has an amazingly fluffy texture for using no flour or refined sugar, and no one would guess that it's secretly healthier. I hope you'll enjoy this healthy birthday cake soon, and be sure to check out my other videos here for more fast and easy real food recipes.